All right. So, like I said, we are advancing into nice section from, will I say, manual to automation, because most of those functions we have been looking at, they are they are a little bit manual. Why did I say so? Because there were a lot of human contribution before we could get those analysis insights. But tonight, we want to look at how we can develop an automated data system or data analysis system. So this is a system that you can develop for a business operator or for yourself. If you are running, uh, maybe you are running a supermarket or any business at all where you want to track your record. What we want to do is to be able to create a system that even someone who is not technical, who does not have technical skill, can manage. So we are trying to take the manual hustle from the the managers, and then all they will do is just to select a particular variable, and every other information will be analyzed automatically. So let me title it Data Analytics Automated System Design with the use of Excel, data validation function, and VLOOKUP. Now, in Excel, we have set of functions which are referred to as lookup functions. Lookup functions. So, out of which tonight we are going to focus on the application of one of them in designing automated analysis uh, system. So let's start with the definition. Like I said, we are combining two different functions together. We are going to use data validation together with VLOOKUP for us to be able to create this self-analysis system. So I'm going to start with the designing of the user interface, because it is an app that we are building on the set just to help a business owner to be able to, or even a professional data analyst can use it to answer multiple analysis questions or to draw multiple insights from a given data set. So we are still going to work with this particular data because we are familiar with it now. Um, Let me expand the column. I believe we all know the data already. So this is the same, the sales inventory we have been using for other analysis. Okay, so like I said, it is an application. So for that reason, we need to make sure that we design the user interface. Now, the data you can use for this kind of automated system must have at least one column with unique value. For example, if you look at the region, all the information you have here, they are categorical data. They are not unique. What you have here, they are also categorical values. They are not unique. What you have here, the same thing. 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 But what you have here, they are unique what values. So which means that we can actually use this uh, to look up for values within this data set. But because we are using VLOOKUP, the current position of this particular column will not be able to work with VLOOKUP. That is why we are going to look at other two types of lookup function outside the VLOOKUP we are focusing on tonight. So let's start with the definition. What is VLOOKUP? What is VLOOKUP? So VLOOKUP is a function in Microsoft Excel that allows you to look up a value in the table and return a corresponding value from another column. Let me come again. VLOOKUP is a function in Microsoft Excel that allows you to look up a value in a table. The table means what? The data sets. And return a corresponding value from another column. So by the time we start applying it, you will understand it. But what we are saying is that we'll have another sheet, for example, and then I will name this sheet as the automated analysis app. So what we are saying is that we will look up for value from this particular table. That is, once the user selects order ID, it will fetch out every other information relating to that ID across all the columns. For instance, you pick an ID here, it will bring to select the what? The person, the ID region. It will select the ID country. It will select the ID item type. It will also select the ID sales channel and so on. So in other words, the ID is now the criteria that we want to use to fetch other information in other columns, like the definition I gave to us. So the first thing I'm going to do, so this is where we are building the application that we will be sending an error to this particular data set once an ID is picked to fetch other information from this. So this concept can be used to build salary pay slip. So you have a salary payroll where all the employees data will have been captured, and then once it's time to pay salary, you want to know a particular employee a salary. All you need is either you look up for that employee salary detail with the person's name or with the person's word ID. So it is not only in a sales inventory like this you can use this lookup function. So you just have to look at the best scenario based on the data set you are working with to know which of them can be best used. So, but because as the name implies, VLOOKUP, the criteria is that your data must be vertically what? Arranged. So that is what the V stands for, vertical data, vertically structured data. So if you look at these values now, they are vertically what? Listed, vertically listed. So now we need to ensure that, so if you look at the data, the values are vertically listed. Now, the next thing is for us to consider the VLOOKUP can only search for positive value. It cannot search for negative value. So let me break that down so I will understand it. Because that was what actually led to the S lookup, which we are going to look at probably on Thursday. Now, for example, if I pick an ID here, it can only search for value in other column that comes after it. So like this now, if it fetches this date, this is a positive value to this ID. If it fetches this, this is positive value to this ID. But the moment you want it to search backward like this, become negative. So VLOOKUP is constrained. It cannot search for value on the negative side. So for that reason, we are going to relocate this to become the first column so that it can search for all the value across the column ahead of it. So what we are going to do now, we select the entire column like this. The first thing I'm going to do is to add another column here. I need to bring in an empty column so that I can take this one there and then be able to what to switch the other one to the next available empty column. So how do I add that column? I will just click on the column representative, which is the letter A. So once you have done that, the next thing you will do is to go to insert. Go to insert. So from insert, you specify what you want to add. So what you want to add is a worksheet. Sorry, it's a column. So I think we'll get it. Sorry, not insert. Should be under home. So from home, you come to insert. From here, you specify the worksheet element you want to add, which is column, and that automatically was inserted a new column. So what I will do is to lift this particular one, the other ID. So I will click here, then drag it. You can as well drag this very one. Once you have selected everything, just place this big plus on any of the borderline, then drag it, drag it, drag it, drag it, and then you put it there. So now we have an empty column without value. So I'll click here and then what? Delete it. Okay, so what I've ensured to have is to make sure that we have all the values or the column positive value for the VLOOKUP. That is what we have just ensured uh, to achieve. So now we have the data in a proper structure. So the next thing we are going to do is to take all the headers in the data set and use them to build the application in the automated analysis app. So how do I select all the headers at once? I'll click on the first lever, hold down the control and the shift button, then press the right arrow button. That will automatically select what? All the header. Now you press Ctrl C to copy, and then you move to the app sheet, and then Ctrl V to paste. So now it is now left for me to design the user interface of the app. So I would like to arrange it in a way that I have it like vertical app. So I'm leaving an empty cell in between just to form a design. It's your choice. And make sure that you follow the order. So by the time we start applying the VLOOKUP, you will understand why I am maintaining the order. So I'm dragging. You can see what I'm doing. Once I select the cell, I'll place the mouse pointer on the borderline, just like what we did there. Then hold down the left button and drag. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'll take another column. I'm leaving an empty column in between. So the idea is that I can either call the value of this here or I call it here. So it depends on you. This is just designing the application. So you arrange everything properly. All right. So now the next thing is to make the application user attractive. To do that, I need to consider what? The color. I need to consider the color. I think, let me see if I can shift this here so that we can be seeing it very well. Now, I want this particular field cells to have different appearance. So how will I achieve that? How will I achieve that? You know, in a cell, to select multiple cells, you have to hold down the control button after you have selected the first one. Now, the reason is that I don't want it to be highlighted like this, because if I highlight it like this, it means that the style I intend to give will affect all these empty words cells. So I want them to be exempted. So the way I'm going to do that is to select and hold down the control button and then target only the ones I want to select. So I'm keep clicking. Make sure you select only the headers. Only the headers. And then you will now go to your home tab, choose color for them, choose a user-friendly color. So let me choose color that will still allow you to see what I'm doing. Now I want to also choose a different fill color. I'll come to this bucket here. I'll choose what? Black. Then I can decide to also what? Bold it. Okay, so that is the style I want for all the fields. Now, where the values of this field, when fetched from the data source, will be displayed, I want it to also look different. So I would like to put their value in front of them. So I'll select only those ones. I'll click on the first one, hold down the control, select only where you intend to put the values. And then you also proceed to your home tab. So let me choose background color for them. So I would like to use this color, or which color do you think will go better? Okay, let me use it. Then the right top, the text. I would like the text to display white once the value comes in these cells. All right. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to make the application look like as if it's an integrated application from probably developed with a programming language. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to silence all the grid lines and the title. So how do I do that? I'll simply go to view. Sorry. Sorry. All right. So I'll go to view. So from view here, I'll turn off the grid line. So I've removed all the grid lines. I want to remove also the label, which are called the headings. I don't want them to see all these A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3. Turn them off. Okay, so now I can decide to paint. I think I'll leave it like this. So the next thing to do is to validate. Sorry, to validate. So this is where validation comes in. So what I've done so far is just to design the application user interface. We have not applied any of the functions we are looking at. So the next thing is for me to validate. What do I mean? All the order which we add as criteria for fetching other corresponding information from the data source sheet. I need to drop them here. I want a situation whereby I don't want to allow users to impute the order ID themselves, because they might impute wrong ID and end up not fetching the value. So to deprive them from doing that, I will validate. So that is where data validation comes in. So data validation is also an advanced function in Excel which helps us to restrict users from imputing value in a particular cell. So like I just explained, I don't want them to type. So since I don't want them to type manually, then I need to provide what they ought to type. So, and I will provide it as a drop down. In other words, there will be a drop down button here. Once they tap it, it will list out to drop down all the available ID. So all they need to do if they want to see details relating to an ID, once they pick it, it will fetch out the region, it will fetch out the country, it will fetch out the item type, then the sales channel, in fact, down to what all the features or the headings we have are listed. So how do we validate now? You click inside the cell where you want to validate the value. And then you go to data tab. Data tab. So from here, you will see data validation. So simply click on it, and then you will be prompted a dialog box like this. Now, it is now left for you to know how to manage this dialog box. Now, you can program an input message like a title, and then you can also program an error alert. So which means that if somebody tries to impute value after you have restricted them, they will get a message. Whatever you program here that what you are not expected to type in here, please select a value. So, but if you don't want that message to be prompted, just to enable them to know when they are doing something wrong, you can just ignore all this and go straight to what your setting. So from your setting, we will now focus on the validation criteria section. So your validation criteria should not be what? Allowing any value. So because of the way the values are listed vertically, so you say what? List. List. And then you make sure that these two options are checked. Because when you check this one, ignore blank, it means that what? It will not capture what? Or even if you have blank, there are empty cells in between the range you are going to capture. You should ignore them. Then in cell drop down, so if you do not activate this, there will be drop down. So make sure that these two options are active, and then you will now have this box where you can define the source. So where are you calling the listed value from? So you make sure that your cursor is inside this particular text box, and then you click here and then navigate to the data set, then call the range of the order, which is now the criteria for fetching order from your app sheet. So what I'm going to do is to click on the first one here and then select everything. Now, in case they add more data tomorrow after this system has been designed, how will the new value be captured? So you proceed. Remember, I've taught us how to select the entire cell in a column. Now you come back here, or you can just click here to expand it so that to view the range. After that, you click OK. So by the time you come here, you will now notice that you have a drop down that is already what? Listing out all the order. So the idea is that once the user, let's say this is a supermarket where you just employed a sales rep that does not have an idea of the prices. So this kind of system will have been designed by a data engineer or data analyst. So all you need to instruct such employee is that once a customer comes in and be able to pronounce the name of what they want to buy, once you pick the name, then you will have done your validation by the name of the product. So once the person called the name, let's say I want to buy Milo, then once you click on Milo, then it will fetch out what the unit price, and then if the person is buying more than one, then everything will calculate. So most of these eateries, supermarkets, pharmacies, they use all this system. Now, It's just that now we have a customized application which are now emulating all this manual programming. So now let's quickly, so this is where data validation stops. So I want to ask if you have any question before we proceed to the application of the VLOOKUP. Because what VLOOKUP will be doing for us now is that once it sees an ID here, it would take that ID, go to the data source, and fetch out other information relating to that particular ID. Before that, if you have any question, so I'll give us, let's say 10 minutes for those of us that want to try 10 minutes so that to allow you to get to where I am. And then when I come back, I will now show us how you can use the VLOOKUP to look for other value. Because right now, the data validation has helped us to get the value of what? Other ID. So we'll just be looking for region, country, item type, down to what? Total profit. Any question, please? Any question? Any question, please? There's no question. Please, you can try it. The next 10 minutes. So you can start now. All right. So now let's bring in the VLOOKUP aspect now. Somebody say something. Let's bring in the VLOOKUP aspects. I believe we are all here, please. So what exactly do we want to achieve with the VLOOKUP? So the assignment of the VLOOKUP, now that data validation has helped us to create a drop down of all the ID, the assignment of the VLOOKUP is to take this particular ID and travel to the data source and then fetch the corresponding value. That is just what we want to achieve with the VLOOKUP. So how do we apply the VLOOKUP? The VLOOKUP comes with several parameters. What do we mean by parameters? Whenever a function is declared, for example, if I say like this, VLOOKUP, whenever a function is declared, the parenthesis brackets, whatever you have inside, is referred to as the function input, the function parameter, or the function input. So you must know how to interpret those inputs. In other words, they are set of data that you must give to the function. There are optional inputs, there are basic or compulsory inputs. That is why I just want to quickly walk us through the meaning of all these inputs separated with comma as or within the function. So the first one I want to talk about is the lookup value. The lookup value. So the lookup value is the value you want to look up for. The value you want to look up for. For example, the value the function is looking up to, or the value the function is using as the criteria to fetch orders. So that is your lookup value. So what is your table array? So table array is like the boundary, the range of your cells where this value can search, where the lookup value can search for the actual value you are looking for. Then what is the column index? The column index is the column number that contains the value you want to return. Let me repeat that. The column index number is the column number that contains the value you want to return. So all these, once I apply it now, you understand it. I just want us to understand the theoretical aspect of this. Then whatever you have in the square brackets, just as we are seeing this here now, is optional. But whatever you have outside the square bracket, all these inputs that are separated with comma, they are compulsory. You must supply their value. That is what it means. So now that you understand that, let's quickly go to the main app where we want to use it. So this is where I will start looking for value, because I shouldn't be looking for value here. Why? Because I've gotten the value here. So the only thing I will do is that this is where I am to enter my VLOOKUP and then use a value here to search for what the region for me. And then come back here and enter the VLOOKUP, use the same value here to search for the country for me. The same thing until you are able to look for all the value. But I'll show us a technique on how you can do it once and then you replicate it for others. So now I'll start with equals to, I'll say VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP. So my lookup value is simply the selection of this. That is my lookup value. And then you add a comma. So you will notice that the moment you add your comma, this is no longer active. So it has shifted to what? Table array, which means that it has accepted that value. Now, like I defined before, what is table array? The table array is the boundary, the area, the total area where the value should be searched from. That is your table array. So which means the entire selection of your source data, including where you have the lookup value. So which means I have to switch from here to the data set and start my selection from here. Then hold down the control and the shift button, press the right arrow button to select the entire width, the down arrow button to select the height. But because of future entry, I will select everything so that once a value comes in within this area, it will still be captured in my application. So comma, so that is your table array. Now, the column index number, like I defined before, is the number of columns where the lookup, the value you are looking for, will be cut from. So which means that, so you now see the reason why I was arranging them according to the order at which they were computed in the data set. So you are going to take this is your lookup value column. You count it as 1. You count this particular column as 1. So we'll now start calculating the distance. What we are currently looking for is region for the selected what? ID, order ID. So we'll now count how many columns will be counted, taking the first one as 1 before you get to the region column where the value you are looking for that ID is. You count 1, 2. So you add what? 2 here. And then you must now specify, because these are conditional functions that has true value and false value. So the true value is if it finds the value based on what you have computed here. What about if it doesn't find it? What should be displayed in that particular cell where we are entering this function? So that once you put your comma, it will bring in the what? the match test. So you put what 0 there, which means that once I hit my enter and I get 0, instead of giving me a valid region corresponding to the ID selected in the lookup value, then I know that what the function could not deliver. That is what it means. So if I press enter here, you see that what it fetch out what Australia. Now I need to expand this. For that, let me bring back the grid. Let me bring back just the heading, just to allow me to what to expand this. I want to be able to see all the information I have there. So I will just align everything here to the left hand side, just to have proper arrangement. And then now let's check it now. If I change any of this ID, it will fetch the corresponding what region for that ID. This is the beauty of what we are doing. So you can see the communication. Once the user choose any ID here, that ID region will be fetched. But what we want is that it should do the same for all. But right now, it's limited to this because this is the only place where we have computed the VLOOKUP. So what do I do now so that it can fetch, once I choose an ID here, it will fetch all the corresponding what column value. What I will do is to, instead of me coming here to start writing that function afresh, I will just take this, come up here, copy it, Control C. Then after copying it, press enter to implement it back. Then go to other cell, one after the other, paste it. Though it will keep generating the same value, but keep pasting. Just keep pasting. I'll show us how you change them to get you the right value. Control V. All right. So now, how do I now align the column? Because what is happening is that the function is still programmed to fetch value from column 2. That is the reason why it's repeating the same thing. So what I will simply do is to come here, since I knew that here is 2, there here should be 3. That is if you have arranged them in that order. Because admittedly you have not arranged them according to the order they are in the data set, what you will have been doing is to go back there and start counting. But there's no point of me going there because I already know that this order follows the order of what entry. So if this is 2, here should be 3. So once I click here, I will just come to where I have this 2 and change it to 3. Once I change it to 3, press enter, it will fetch the right information. The same thing here. Since this is 3, this should be 4. Then just come up here, change it to 4, and then press enter. It will fetch the right value. Then the next one should be 5. The next one should be 6. So it's very simple, just for you to understand. Now I believe there is an error there. Let me fetch the next one and see. That was 6, so this should be 7. Okay, so now this should be 8. Then this should be 9. Then this should be 10. This should be 11. This should be 12. This should be 13. This should be 14. All right. So we have replicated what the function. Now let's go and select another ID and see how it will fetch the corresponding information relating to the selected ID. So you can see it. So once you pick an ID here, it will fetch the corresponding information. So there's no point of you going to the data sheet. So the computation can continue over there because you have already captured the whole area, including where you have value and the empty set. So once value comes in there, all of them will be captured within your application. So this is how you can create an automated system using VLOOKUP. So what the user needs to do is just you will just educate them that once you pick a value here, you get the rest information. Now, at times, there could be other manual calculations that will be attached to this. For example, maybe there is another calculation you must have manually programmed it that once a value come here and it comes here, it should multiply it and give you another information. So let me just quickly try one so that we to know how it works. So let me bring back the grid for now. The grid for now. Let's assume that we want to add up all the values here. We want to add the value here, 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 the value here. And it will be dynamic depending on what is there per time. So that one is not what you do with the VLOOKUP. You program it and reference those sets. So I will say, okay, this is just like I just want to get a kind of total of units sold or total of profit. Sorry, unit price, unit cost, total revenue, total cost, and or let's just say total of that is a total revenue. So let's say there's an insight you want to derive from this. Total revenue plus total profit. So this is like an additional analysis that you are manually programming, and the answer you want the answer to be here. So let me just enhance the appearance of this a little bit so that we'll know that it's for special analysis. Okay, so I can just select the two of them, and then just to make that particular section obvious, I will just select outside border. Now, what we are saying is that the VLOOKUP, anytime it fetches for any ID, it fetches the total revenue, total profit. The addition of those two values should be displayed here dynamically. So this is where I will now write my function. So the function I want to program here is once a value is fetched here, take it, then plus this. So right now, this is what we have for this particular ID. So if I change the ID now, as the values are changing of those two reference cells, this manual calculation will also what be changing. So you can go on and link it to other things. So once a value is fetched here, probably it will make to perform another calculation in another sheet. So depending on how you want it to work for you. Please, do we have any question, please? Question, 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 question. Do we have any question?
If you don't mind, can you just run the little just that first place of VLOOKUP where just the first entry of VLOOKUP.
Here, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes. V where you call up the VLOOKUP. Just explain a bit.
Okay. So let me
You,
delete this. Let me
you may not
delete
need
this.
to start some. Okay.
So let me delete it. and do as if I want to program it. I think that's what the question is, right? I should do it again.
Yes,
Now,
yes, yes,
yes,
yes.
so the first thing I did was to start by entering equal sign as the rule. Then I activated the function VLOOKUP. Now, the lookup value is the cell that will receive the value for fetching what you are looking for. Now, since I'm re-explaining, let me add this. It is not every time, it's not compulsory that you do validation. You know, if I have not validated this year, it means that I'll be referencing an empty cell because that cell will be waiting for the value to come in as soon as you get the value before it to fetch what the region. But now, because of validation, we have already what projected the value. So your lookup value is the cell where the value that will be used as criteria to travel to your source data to fetch the corresponding information is. So this is like the criteria we are using to fetch region. The comma. Then the next section is table array. So the function is asking, okay, by the time I travel to that sheet, can you tell me the area, the total area where I am limited to search for the value? That is called table array. So that will now take you back to the data set and then select, we are not highlighting the header, the first record. And then you hold down the shift and control, press the right arrow key to select everything horizontally, then the down arrow key to select everything vertically. But we wanted to create space for tomorrow entry. So we continue like this so that the company will not call us back tomorrow once they make what new state. So we have created room for them to what for more entry. Then that is your so which means that this particular area that is highlighted, if any value comes in here, it's not going to capture it. That's what you're saying. It can only capture value within that area. There you put your comma. So the next one is the column index number, which means that, okay, now you have given me the total area, but can you assist me to know the particular column where I should focus on? That is where this is coming in. So the particular column, for example, now the value we are looking for region can only be gotten from this from this column. So we don't want to bother the function looking for maybe country. When it could not find it, it will not go to item type. When it could not find it, it will not go to what says. No, that's going to take too much time. So we are just trying to narrow it down. That okay, yes, we have given you the area, but just focus within this column. That is where the value is. So that is your column what index number. And I said, how do you calculate this? You take the first one as 1. Then, since the value is going to be fetched from here, 1, 2. So your column index will be what? 2. Remember when I wanted to fetch country, I used 3. When I wanted to fetch item type, I used 4. So that is the logic. Now, we must supply our first value. First value. So in case it could not fetch the value here, what should be outputted? There you put a comma and then you put 0. You put 0. Now, this place that you put 0 now, if you like, you can quote it. You can say that, okay, anytime you could not find it, you should display what? Not available. Not available. Not available. So this is another option. But I just decided to just put 0 there. So once I see 0, once I hit my enter and I see 0, I know that, oh, it couldn't find it. Probably, maybe the value does not exist. So if I press enter now, it will display it here, telling me what? Wrong value. Because of this now. So it will not accept this because it has given you the default. The default for this to work for us when we are working with VLOOKUP. So let's just put 0 there. So that is the one it's recommended. Now you see it. Now I believe I've answered your question, sir. Is it clear now?
Right. Yes, 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 yes. Can go on.
Okay. So I want every one of us to get to this place. I don't know. This is actually what I plan to teach, but if you can still take it, I can add S lookup because both of them go together. Should I go ahead with S lookup to allow us to go and master this? Let's contribute. Let me know. So it doesn't get too much. I think. What is your take on that?
I think if it were possible, if you allow to go and practice this one and
Yeah.
come back on Thursday.
Yes. So please, I would like to stop here. Then what you do for me is that for those of you that have a salary payroll, I will look for one. What I'm going to do is that I think I used to have one very good salary payroll. So I will tell you what to do with the VLOOKUP because when I started, I said it is not only sales inventory like this. You can apply it. You can apply it on salary payroll. So long the data set has one of the label with unique value. You cannot use this to look for because H, for example, now H is repeated. So always make sure that whichever column you are using must have unique. But sir, if I'm given a data set where there is no unique and I still want to use it, what do? You manufacture the feature. What you do is that you just use the serial number, just create serial number, number one, number two, and use that column. That is all. But there must be a unique variable. All right. So please, this is a compulsory assignment. Compulsory assignment. I would like every one of us to do it. If I'm able to get the data, as soon as I end this session, I'll search for the data. If I can't find it, you use this same data set. So even if I send you that data, I would like you to try it on the both data so that you can understand it better. So the next class, we should be able to cover up the H lookup and the S lookup because this one has even explained them 50%. Most of the things that we looked at here now, they are still going to be repeated there. That's why I really want us to go and understand it because understanding this will help us to understand the remaining one. Then after this topic, we have the final advanced topic in Excel, which is pivot table. Once we are done with pivot table, and then we'll do conditional formatting. After that, say bye-bye to Excel, and then dive into Python. So if there's no question, call it session. I will assume there's no question. Nobody.
Are you going to give all the send to all the video clips?
Definitely. That one is to do that. Do that. The only thing is
Okay,
that
we'll be.
it might get to you. Okay, since we close on time, let me try and send it this night for the 11 o'clock. I think you should get it.
Okay.
Um, quickly, let me quickly just, since you are closing, can I just share and there's
Okay,
something, a question I wanted to ask
okay.
that I may not be able to
Please ask. You can share now. I think
explain. Yeah, can you see my screen?
yes, I can see it.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Can you see? Okay.
Yes.
What I wanted to do, how do I copy this? If you check the region, how do I copy this Australia and put it in the
Mr. Ambrose, can you hear me? Mr. Ambrose, you can hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Ambrose?
I hear you.
Okay.
Can hear
Yeah,
you.
I can hear you.
I can't talk again because
It's like when you are
lock
talking
your
that I don't understand. Though. It is when you are talking that the network will go. Just share again.
uh,
Just share. Just share. Just share. Just share. Let's try again. Let's see. It's my work. Just share. It's my work. Just share. Let me see. But I think I got what you were saying. If you talking is the issue, I think
yeah.
let me share my screen and explain that to you. If you talking will be an issue. But I already got to your question. So maybe I should just share my screen and
Okay,
explain.
okay,
Just
okay, okay, okay.
let me. So the question you are asking now is this: after you have gotten this one, how do you copy it to fill other cells? You click on it here, and then you come to the
Exactly.
formula. You come to the formula bar like this. This is where you copy, not from here. Once you select that cell, the one you have gotten, go to the formula bar. You see the formula, copy it. Just select everything, then Control C, then copy. Then after you have copied it, you have to press enter before you go for pasting. If you don't press enter before you go for pasting, but now you press enter, it will have deleted this very one. So what you do is that you make sure that you press enter to return it, then before you go to other cells to paste it. I don't know if I've answered your question. Mr. Ambrose, have I answered your question?
Yeah.
All right. Any other question, please? There's no question. Okay. So
Sir,
any
please try
other?
and send the video this night.
Okay, I will. I will. All right. So good night, everyone. See you on Thursday. Let me convert and send the video.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night, sir.